Awesome. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Hi. And thank you so much for joining us today for Senator Cortese's 22nd annual bus trip. Woo! You guys woke up really early this morning, so we're super appreciative that you're here and really excited to speak with you today. My name is Ashante. I'm a legislative aide here in the office of Senator Cortese. I staff the senator on education, K-12, along with my counterpart, Tara, our LD. She staffs higher education. So we're super excited to speak with you today. We are super grateful for your continued participation and engagement in community engagement. We also want to extend our sincerest appreciation to our event partners and sponsors, the San Jose Japtown Lions, the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, AT&T, Santa Clara County School Boards Association, the Toronto Wireless, and the California School Employees Association, San Jose Behavioral Health Hospital, the Latino Education Advancement Foundation, and the San Francisco 49ers. This event wouldn't be possible without you. For over 2 decades, Senator Cortese has brought community members, educators, students, and educational stakeholders from Senate District 15 to Sacramento to advocate for education as a budget priority at the state level. Today, you will hear from a number of legislators directly about their legislation, their budget priorities, and education-related work. You will hear from a number of educational leaders from statewide organizations and departments. And with that all said, it is critical that you stay in your seats when our speakers are speaking. We will have small breaks before lunch from 11:15 to 11:30, and after lunch from 1:45 to 2 p.m. This will be your time to stretch your legs or use the restroom. There are restrooms down this main path. If you follow this straight down, take a right, you'll see like a big building. There's restrooms on the inside of that that's open to the public. We will take a group photo at 11:55 in front of the Capitol, after which we will distribute lunches to everyone, so you'll be able to eat. And from 12:05 to 1 p.m., that's going to be your lunch window. This will be your opportunity to stroll the grounds, check out the Capitol building. We have a great gift shop at the bottom floor of the Capitol building. You'll see a statue in the middle and on the left-hand side. Also, there's a little cafe in there if you want to grab an extra snack or something. Please return promptly from breaks. Outside of our designated breaks, we do kindly insist that you remain within our reserved areas, which is just this immediate space, while the speeches are being delivered. Many of our legislators and special guests have incredibly busy schedules and made the time to come speak with us. So we want to make sure that you remain attentive and engaged throughout the day. If the time permits, after each speaker goes up, we want to open it up for questions. If time doesn't permit, we'll have comment cards that are in your folders that you can fill out, and we'll make sure that we get them to the members. Our district staff will ensure that your messages get to the right person. And with that said, we are waiting on Senator Cortese to get here for some opening remarks, but I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and get us started off here. And super excited to have everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry, I actually see Senator Cortese back here right now. So we're going to go ahead and welcome Senator Cortese.
Well, good morning. Welcome, Sacramento. What a great turnout, and thank you for getting up so early in the morning to make the trip and to be here. It's become a great tradition for us. When I say us, really over 22 years, starting with a handful of people originally from Evergreen, and then growing and growing over the years to become really a county-wide event in terms of Santa Clara County or Silicon Valley. You know, people, whoever wants to come and to sign up does that. And I know we even have some folks from Gilroy here today, maybe some kids. I think that's a first for the trip. So wherever you're from, whatever part of town, there you go, the Gilroy contingent. All right. Yeah, okay. you guys must have had to get up an extra half an hour early, right? At least. I don't know that we've ever had quite this many people in the 22 years. We've come close a couple of times, but I was told that, and keep in mind that I was here overnight because we've been in session. We're in voting session pretty much every day now. So unlike other years where I've been on the bus with everyone coming from San Jose, that wasn't the case this year. But I'm told that 4 buses altogether were filled up more or less and got here safely. And that's something that really you should all commend yourselves for. You should all feel really good about. Why don't you give yourselves a round of applause? There's lots of school field trips and things like that up here, and it's a wonderful thing to see. There are not very many groups that have 220 people or so come up at one time. Certainly not 4 busloads. So this is really a good thing. I'm going to just talk for a few minutes and talk about maybe what we should be doing today. You know, free speech, First Amendment. You're here to petition your government. You're going to have other elected officials standing here before you. They are used to having hard questions or comments addressed their way, and you should feel comfortable doing that. It's primarily always been a trip about education funding and equalizing the kind of resources we have for our school districts, because that hasn't been the case over the years. It hasn't been the case during most of my lifetime, and we're trying to fix that right now. I have a bill that is addressing that issue currently, and we hope you'll learn a little bit more about that today. And we hope that some of the folks that are here on the trip that are helping to sponsor that bill, which would in effect create a fund that makes all districts equal in terms of per pupil funding, that will be coming along. So I want to thank Lisa Andrew here, Dr. Lisa Andrew, who's here from the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. They've been a primary sponsor of this bill because they've been extremely concerned that some schools, like schools in the east side, get about $15,000 per year per student, to invest in our students. Some of you may be those students. Where other schools, just a few miles away, get as much as $27,000 per student for the same school year. This has been going on for over 40 years. It's been going on for over 40 years, and it's getting worse and worse and worse because of the formulas they use to distribute the money. So we're trying to fix those formulas once and for all to say that from now on, there needs to be a fund that is going toward equalizing the unequal schools every single year throughout the state of California. And that isn't going to cost you any taxpayer money. The idea with that bill is to take from the money you already pay in taxes and not take anything away from wealthier school districts, but to add to the less wealthy school districts so that they come up to parity, to equality, to equity, all right? So at some point, it's likely it's going to take a constitutional amendment at the end of this process to lock that in. And at some point, we'll probably be sending you emails, or somebody will, saying it's time for everyone to start spreading the word about this bill. Don't worry about it today, but I just wanted to let you know a little bit of what I'm up to in education. And I'm going back to the purpose of the trip. 22 years ago, a guy named Dan Gordon, who may or may not be here today, he's been on almost every one of these trips, showed up at a small community meeting in Evergreen and said, I'm not going to take it anymore. Our district is getting way less funding despite the property taxes we pay, way less funding than other districts. And he challenged me to go to Sacramento. I was a city council member at the time, and bring a petition here. And I said, I'll go if you go with me. Well, we ended up with a small bus, like a airport shuttle bus, and came up here, and we delivered a petition to the governor's office, and that's what started the trip. It was community demand. It was community engagement. It was community involvement. It wasn't just some idea I had. It wasn't a political stunt or campaign type of thing. This was people in the community just like you saying, we want to go there. We just need help, to set it all up. So some of the people here on my staff who set this all up and spent a great deal of the year working on it are as follows. Megan Betty, who is right here. Ashante Smith, who was just talking to you. Beth Willon, who does all the communications and media work and everything. So if you saw media this morning when the buses were leaving, that's Beth's good work. Feng Nguyen, who is back here somewhere. Suzanne Wheaton, who is our district director. She's back there under the canopy. Zach Contini, who is very, very much involved in organizing all of the community outreach that we do in the district office. Michael Haliva is here. I saw him in the back. Michael is from the office here in Sacramento. So we have two offices, one in San Jose on Meridian Avenue with about a half dozen employees, and another one here in the Legislative Office Building. We call it the Swing Space, which is right across N Street from the Capitol, and hopefully you'll get a chance to go over there and see that later on. Among the others who are here or who will be here later on, Evan Fern, I saw Evan back here from the Capitol office. Kaylee Wormsley, who is a fellow, a Senate fellow, meaning that she's a staff member, but she's in a special fellowship program for elite people who are coming into public service. Claire Racinos, I don't know if she's out here yet, but she will be later. Please give her a round of applause. Sunshine Borelli is our chief of staff. She works here, but she's the chief of staff for all of our operations in both offices that represent you. Tara Srikrishnan, a lot of you know her because she's a county school board member as well, but she's our legislative director here in Sacramento, and she does a tremendous job. We have 25 bills working their way through the legislature this year, including the education bills, and Tara has to manage all of that. And Natasha Waxman, she's the only person still left in San Jose. She's the scheduler. So none of us would be here if it weren't for her. I want to acknowledge that my wife, Patty Cortese, is back here. She's a school board member for Eastside Union High School District. And she came up here this week in part so she could be here with all of us. And she's, of course, been an attendee in the past. There's a great group of legislators that are going to come and talk to you. I don't know that they'll all be exactly on time. I don't know if the schedule will change a little bit. They're going to be literally walking over here from the office buildings to speak to all of us. One of them is our Senate Pro Tem, Mike McGuire, who is, Senator McGuire is actually from the Bay Area, from the northern part of the Bay Area. His district goes all the way from Sonoma all the way to Healdsburg and places like that. He's a tremendous advocate for education and has himself served on the education committee in the past. You'll meet people from both political parties, both primary political parties here. This isn't just one political party that's represented, for this event. So whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or you have no party preference, I think you'll be able to relate to the speakers here today. And they're really here primarily to talk about education and to answer your questions. One of the other bills that we've been working on now for a couple of years is called SB 33. And I don't know if Ashante had the chance to mention it, but he's worked very hard on this bill. SB 33 tries to address the issue that last year there were over 246,000 students in California public schools who were homeless. 246,000 homeless. Of those, about 90,000 were high school students. And I'm sure some of the high school students here are thinking, well, we knew that, because amongst yourselves which kids are struggling and which kids are not. This month, 24,000 of those homeless kids will graduate. They'll walk across the stage, they'll get their diploma, and when they get to the other side of the stage, all of their benefits that they were receiving from the federal government will end, and they'll be on their own. And even if they're ready to enroll in college in the fall, 4 months later, right? June, July, August, September, when they get to college, you get to college, there's more benefits. But how do you survive during that 4-month period where you're still homeless, you're not in school anymore temporarily, you're on summer break, and you have no benefits coming from anybody, federal, state, or anybody? So we have a guaranteed income bill, which is really a stipend that would go to those students each month, just for those months. Someone asked me once a good question. They said, how do you know that students aren't going to get addicted to that money if you give it to them, and then they won't want to work or they won't want a job or whatever? It's 4 months. It's hard to get addicted to money in 4 months. This is about survival. You may or may not agree with the bill, but it's one of the primary bills that we have, my office has, that I authored this year, and we're hoping to get that across the finish line. Right? And it's a somewhat similar bill for college students at CSU, SB 685. Any student that has been identified as homeless, and if you're wondering how we know that, the federal government does require, under something called the McKinney-Vento Act, and the school board members know this who are here. Thank you for being here. The McKinney-Vento Act requires every public school to identify the homeless students in their school. You can't just ignore them. And the purpose of that is once you identify them, then they're eligible for federal benefits. We don't have that for college. So when you go to San Jose State, for example, again, you're basically on your own. Maybe you have some student aid. Maybe you have a lot of student aid. But we have found that even with student aid and financial aid, that CSU students who have been homeless are still short about $10,000 a year in covering their costs of education, books, things that just go to the cost of getting through school. So we have another bill, SB 685, that tells CSU to cover that cost for those students. This is a tough budget here in Sacramento. You're going to hear this all day long from legislators. But it's a year when so far we have protected the bulk of the public education money. Neither the governor or the legislature is proposing any takeaways or big hits to public education. And so we are kind of doubling down and saying on some of these things, let's not only protect what we have, the progress that we've made, but let's try to do a couple of things that we need to do because they relate to other issues. I don't think we're ever going to end the homelessness problem if we keep graduating 24,000 young people into homelessness every year. How do you keep up with that conveyor belt? And so these programs have a little cost to them, but you know, there was an old television commercial that used to say, pay now or pay later. And that's what we're trying to do, is preempt the need to cover the homeless population with all kinds of services and costs and temporary shelters and all these things, when in fact we can start addressing the problem right before kids graduate and get out of school in the first place. Oh. And lastly, before I call Senator McGuire, Pro Tem McGuire, up here, please come on up. Actually, Senator, we call him Mr. Pro Tem. Pro Tem comes from, he is the president of the Senate Pro Tem. And so he is our leader in the California State Senate. We'll talk to you some more about other bills. He has a lot of good things to talk to you about. And so I'm going to cut to the chase and turn it over to somebody who, again, given that you all come from the Bay Area, I want you to know, as I said earlier, Senator McGuire, Pro Tem McGuire, is a Bay Area guy. He's kind of known all over the state now. I expect you will hear a lot more about him, including in San Jose and Santa Clara County, as a statewide leader in the future. expect that this young man has a very, very prominent future for our state. And so please listen to him, and to the extent you have time for questions and answers, please hit him up, because he doesn't duck questions. He's very good about that. Thank you, and please welcome our President Pro Tem, Senator McGuire. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. How the heck is everybody doing? We want to make sure you're awake. Hey, hi, day. Oh, dear Lord. All right. So excited to be with you. I want to take a moment to say thank you to Senator Cortese. You know him. We love him. For 2 decades, he has been doing this bus tour, and he has dedicated his life. He has dedicated his life to bettering the lives of thousands across the county in Northern California. I want to give it up loud and proud. Senator Dave Cortese, everybody. Come on now. Thank you. I see that Mrs. Cortese is here as well. I want to say thank you to her dedication to the students, of course, of San Jose. And we want to say welcome. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. We have educators and students. Let's get it for the students who are here today. Come on now. My goodness, student leaders, school board members and administrators, and of course, business leaders, thank you so much. I hope that you will agree with me. The best investment that the state can make, that America can make, is in students in strong public schools. Are you ready to go, Silicon Valley? Let me hear you. Look, and here's the bottom line is, despite the challenges that we are having with the state budget this year, we are going to continue record investment in public education across the state of California. And look, I represent an area of the Bay Area. I represent from the Golden Gate Bridge all the way up to the Oregon border. And I represent counties that voted for Kamala Harris. I represent counties that voted for Donald Trump. The bottom line is this, what we cannot forget, especially in these hyper-partisan times. We are Californians and Americans first. We have to stand strong for the policies, the people, and the progress that California represents. Are you with me, ladies and gentlemen? Come on now. And look, what we also know is that we have to lower the cost of living in the state of California. And thanks to the leadership of Senator Dave Cortese, we're focused on lowering the cost of energy bills and holding PG&E accountable across their region. We are focused on keeping folks in and making rent more affordable. We are going to double the number of first-time home buyers in the state of California. And we are going to greatly expand career training in every corner of the Golden State through our affordability package that we're advancing. And what we also know is, despite the challenges, California remains the top economy in the United States of America. And in fact, California is the top economy here in North America. Let's talk about it. California remains number one for technology in the United States of America, the number one ag state in the United States of America. 35 of the 50 top AI firms in the entire world call California home. We're number one for film in the United States of America. We're the 4th largest economy in the world, number one for manufacturing. We give $83 billion more every year to the federal government than what we receive. We're the number one donor state in the United States of America, and we can't forget that, especially now. We need to use our economic power for good. Are you ready to go, Santa Clara? Let's go. And look, what we also know is we have to continue to grow our economy. If you take a look at what California has done over the last 20 years, we've grown our economy by 175% here in California. The United States of America, grown its economy by 95%. And we have cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 20%. We can do right by business and also focus on one of the greatest threats of our lifetime, and that's the climate crisis. We can and we must do both, and especially now, we can't give up with this hostile administration. 92% of all Californians have health care as well, which is something that we need to stand strong for. Can we talk about public schools? Is that all right, everybody? All right, here we go. So here's the bottom line. When you take a look back in 2015, it's shameful. The fourth largest economy in the world was spending less on our students than the state of Mississippi. We were dead last. Shame, you're damn right. And I don't mean to swear. I apologize. You're darn right in regards, it is shameful. So here's the deal. Over the last decade, we've gone from $8,900 per student per year. This year will be over $24,000 per student per year, and it's about dang time. We are the first state in the United States of America to be able to offer free breakfast and lunch to every student at every public school site. We will hit over 1 billion meals this year. We know that kids can't go to school with a hungry stomach. They're not going to be successful. We are going to invest this year $1.5 billion for after-school programming here in the state of California. We're hiring 10,000 new mental health counselors at middle schools and high schools across the state of California. We have $1 billion in career training across the state of California for middle schools and public high schools. And we have to make college more affordable and accessible. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? And here's what we're doing. 50% of all students who go to a community college now are going tuition free. 50%, half. 54% of all students who go to a UC now are going tuition free. 55% of all students who now go to a CSU like San Jose State are going tuition free. We have to continue to focus in on this. And I will tell you, the federal government is talking about repealing and greatly limiting the Pell Grant. And what we know, the number one thing that we can do for an individual in this state for upward mobility to be able to achieve the middle class is make sure that they can go to college debt-free. And that is why we are so focused, despite the challenges at the federal government level, of continuing to make college more affordable and accessible. $10 billion, thanks to the voters of California, are moving across the state to be able to modernize school facilities as well. $600 million in that alone is going to be for career training. I'm going to end it right here with this and answer any questions and take any concerns that you have. We have some challenges with the budget. Number one is we got to figure out our Medi-Cal budget. So 15 million Californians are dependent on Medicaid, federal health benefits, and state health benefits. We can't abandon them, especially now. It is the safety net here in the state of California. That is how we're able to achieve that 92% number. 92% have access to health care. If folks don't have access to health care and they visit the emergency room, it costs taxpayers 3 times as much than an individual who's going in with insurance. And that is why we are so focused on making sure that we're able to keep Medi-Cal stable, that is funded by the state, and we have to fight these Medicaid cuts by the federal government. By the way, it could be up to $15 billion in health care cuts just for the state of California alone this year if the current federal budget is adopted. We have to put a stop to that. I'm going to end it with this. Thank you. Thank you for your amazing commitment to the students. Thank you for being here. And I'm so excited that we continue to make California golden. Let's open it up for questions, comments that folks may have. Sir, take it away. How you doing? Good morning. Thank you for your service.
How are we going to eliminate the danger of having our children to be homeless and not notifying their parents to see what they can do to help them? What can we do to, minimize those kind of problems? To say a student wake up in the morning, he don't know where he's waking up from, he don't know what clothes to wear, and then think he's going to go to school and education. This is not going to work very good. What are we doing? What step are we taking to eliminate these problems?
So Luan was just asking, and please push back, and again, a veteran and has served this country, and want to say thank you so much. Which branch of the service?
In the Army, yes, sir.
He is all about the Army, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness, thank you. So, yeah, please give him a round of applause. He's saying, what are we going to do for homeless students? I'm paraphrasing here, sir. What are we doing for homeless students? How do we get them off the street? How do we make sure that there's success in school? Yes, sir. So, number one, look, I know that we're in a tough budget. The governor is proposing to be able to eliminate $1 billion for what we call the HAP fund. It goes for permanent housing, to be able to build permanent housing in San Jose and in Gilroy and up on the northern coast of California. We have to preserve that. That is the number one thing that we can do to continue to build housing and get folks off the streets. Number two, we need to keep the funding for the emergency encampment grant that provides transitional housing for folks, kind of the first step. You get someone off the street, you get them treatment, wraparound services with mental health and addiction, especially for adults, and get them into emergency shelter. Third, we need to get Prop 1 funds, thanks to the voters of California who passed $15 billion mental health initiative. We need to get Prop 1 funds out to be able to expand the issue in the services for mental health. By the way, Santa Clara County just received a couple $100 million from Prop 1 that will be invested in the safety net to be able to expand both day programs for mental health and programs where folks are in a longer term facility. And the last piece that I'll say is we have to focus on kids. And there's a set aside right now for homeless dollars and for homeless students to be able to work with them and their parents to be able to get housing. They need to have top priority. The fastest growing population of homelessness in the state of California, women with kids and women over the age of 55. And it's about economic security. The last thing I'll just say is we have to focus on the type of jobs that we're growing here in the state of California. Service-related jobs simply don't work. We need to continue to look at living wage jobs, and that's something that we're also very focused on. I'm very happy you're here. Thank you so much, sir. Very, very grateful. Please, right over here, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Ravi Pathak from Evergreen. Thanks to Dave, Senator Dave. I've been here several years because of this program. But in 2022-23, we were in surplus with education. But here today, I'm hearing that we are already going down. So why is the question? So the other thing is already our property tax are going up, and then we have a cap of $10,000. Now governor is thinking of, even though we are boasting about our greenhouse and solar, increasing in Evergreen and every other parts of Bay Area, but now governor wants to break the contract and
NIM.
get into our taxes on something or something is planning. I want to say no to that so that we give a clear message to the governor not to get into that and pain us at this time.
No, thank you so much. I'm grateful. Rabi was just saying is talk to us about why we're seeing a deficit when we had a surplus. The other issue is in regards to NIM, which is incentives for solar on residential roofs, correct? So I'm going to push back just a couple of years ago. The state of California has record surpluses. A lot of that was people were spending more than they've ever spent, right, because of COVID. Two, there's a lot of federal funds. I'm going to fast forward to this year. The biggest challenge that we have right now is the impact of tariffs on the state budget. So, state of California, the more you make, the more you pay in taxes. The less you make, the less you pay. We are dependent on high income earners in this state as well as corporations. And right now, based off of the instability that we're seeing within the market, what we thought would be about a $4.9 billion surplus this year has turned into about $11 billion deficit. And that is even with us trending above what we thought we'd be in our budget. We're about $6 billion over where we thought we'd be, but we've seen such a significant drop in activity of the stock market, which we're dependent on. That has hit us really hard. I will tell you, though, for schools, you are not going to see a dip within Prop 98. So Prop 98 is what funds schools. We're not going to miss a beat on school funding. The last piece is on residential solar roofs. There is a proposal at the Public Utilities Commission to reduce the subsidy for that even further. It's not something that I support, just being very candid. And candidly, it has greatly impacted the solar industry across the state. And it's something that I just personally, I can't speak for our caucus or Senator Cortese, that can't support. I am getting the hook. They're about to, one more question. Okay, yeah, please. Thank you for your question. Please. Leonie? prize for Cortese. Look at that, huh? I like that. Thank you so much. Talk to me about it. Talk to us about it.
So basically, SB 748 is a bill for equitable funding for our schools.
Thank you so much. Hey, I'm very grateful, Naomi. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here. Can we get another round of applause, please, to Senator Cortese and the entire Cortese team? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator McGuire. I'm going to let Ashanti come up here and do his job. Very, very much appreciate them taking time out of what is a really, really busy time right now to make this walk 4 or 5 blocks out here to address everyone. And we do have our next senator here, so we'll let Ashanti do the introductions.
Thank you, Senator. And yeah, this has been great so far. Really happy that we've had all of these speakers out. And the next speaker that we have today is going to be Senator John Laird. Senator John Laird represents the Santa Cruz area. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my notes. He was elected to the state senate on November 3rd, 2020, carrying all 4 counties in the district with a combined margin of over 145,000 votes. He's a very popular senator and has been sworn in to represent Senate District 17 on December 7th, 2020. Laird was elected as a member of the Cabrillo College Board of Trustees from 1994 to 2002. In the state Senate, Senator Laird chairs and serves as on a broad array of committees. Chair on the Senate Budget Subcommittee 1, which Senator Cortese was able to serve on last year, that oversees all of the budget finance here in the state. Senator Laird is the chair. He's the vice chair on the Joint Committee on Rules. He's on the Budget and Fiscal Review Committee and the Judiciary Committee and more. Please give a round of applause to Senator Laird.
Thank you. I speak every year, and since I spoke last year, because I know there's some Gilroy people here, our districts changed. And so the part of Santa Clara County I had represented for 10 years in the Assembly and the Senate went to your very able Senator Dave Cortese. But it isn't that we aren't still working together to try to leverage things for the places that we both have represented over time. I heard the Senate President mention briefly the budget for education, but let me talk about 2 parts of it, just for your information. And the difficult one by far is the higher education piece. Higher education is split in the budget. The University of California and the California State University system are sort of on their own, and the community college system is lumped together with kindergarten through 12 as institutions that are funded by Proposition 98. On higher education, the governor in January proposed an almost 8% reduction for UC and CSU. And if you look at inflation and labor contracts and other things, that really constituted a cut that was in the 11 or 12% range. That is just simply untenable. We've been trying to get higher education to expand enrollment, to diversify, to work with us on student aid so it's more affordable, and that is jeopardized by cuts. In May, the governor proposed dropping the 8% cut, and I say May, the budget he proposed last week, from 8% to 3%. I salute him for that progress. We still have to work on the 3%. And then on the scholarship side, we have worked hard with our partners in trying to expand the eligibility of higher education scholarships together with what they cover. And the middle class scholarship has been a central part of that. The governor is proposing cutting the middle class scholarship by roughly 60%. And the situation with UC is something that I don't think they toot their horn about enough. And that is that if right now 2/3 of the graduates of the University of California graduate with no debt, The 1/3 that graduate with debt, the average debt is $17,000. Compared to campuses across the country or private, this is actually an amazing statistic because it really means that we are moving substantially back to the UC that I knew as a student, where, you know, my mother was trying to race me through college as a reentry woman. My dad was a teacher. I ended up with no debt graduating, and we owe that to the students now so that they get the jump in higher education. There's significant percent of first-time college students in a family, and that they are able to navigate the housing market and other things because we're not launching them out of college with a lot of debt. So that is at risk in this budget. On kindergarten through 12 and community colleges, it is proposed by the governor that there be a roughly 2.3% increase over last year in the funding formula that goes to local agencies, and that is for both community colleges, and that is both through K through 12. It is better than zero, but it is a challenge for schools that have contracts and inflation, and in some cases declining enrollment, to try to figure out how to mix all those things together. And there are some nuances with community colleges in the budget. There is some one-time money proposed for discretionary grants for local education agencies, and that's important because in the AB 218 lawsuits that are coming, this is an allowable expenditure for that, or allowable for whatever is needed. If it turns out that special education is short, if it turns out that enrollment is down and you're trying to keep a campus open, those kind of discretionary grants are the things that can fill in the budget a little bit. So that, and the real trouble we have is that we have a $12 billion problem before the federal cuts that you were hearing about. And so it's a question of how it is taken. And in education, there'd still be an increase to local schools. There would be a cut to UC and CSU. And I think our challenge is to try to get back to the baseline as we finalize the budget. But to buy out a cut, you have to have money. You have to have money that comes from somewhere to do that. And so that is our challenge. So that's the overview. I see Assemblymember Pellerin is here, but I'd be happy to take a question or two before I'm done if there's anything that is on your mind. Yes. The question was that I had spoken a lot about undergraduates, but what about those that want advanced training, which I assume is postgraduate? And it is supported financially completely differently. And it's supported in a way that you do the scholarships, they pay the costs, they pay the fees, and you figure out how to cycle and do it. That is challenged in some ways, but not in the same way the undergraduate is. And if we cut, then it would affect that. And then if the federal government comes in, they are a major piece of that source of postgraduate funding, and we have to fight at the federal level to try to keep those cuts from coming. That's the brief answer to a complicated question. What else? Anything else? Yes. She didn't have a question, but she had a support level for SB 743 on equalization. And I think I'm about to get a support letter. Perfect. A last question? Yes. Obviously, from the applause, you heard the comment, but it was basically speaking out for special education in context of the cuts and seeing a lot of other things, including certain sports that aren't being cut, and wanting to make sure we have our priorities right. So I appreciate the comment. We'll take it into account. Thank you. Good luck in your visits today.
Thank you, Senator Laird, for your time. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Assemblymember Gail Pellerin. She was elected to the California State Assembly in November 2022 to represent the 28th Assembly District. She serves as the chief elections official in Santa Cruz County from 1993 until her retirement in December of 2020. In addition, Assemblymember Gail Pellerin was the president of the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials from 2010 to 2012. And the co-chair of the Secretary of State's Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee. Assemblymember Gail Pellerin has a BS in journalism from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. Before her experience in public service, Gail worked as a campaign assistant to political campaigns, a newspaper reporter, and a photographer and a community college instructor. Please welcome Assemblymember Gail Pellerin.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Very good. Everybody got up bright and early and got on the bus and came to Sacramento? Yes. So it's my great honor to be here today, and I just want to give a shout out to Senator Cortese wherever he is and thank him so much for bringing us all together on this important day. I appreciate everyone taking the time to be here. As he said, my name is Assemblymember Gail Pellerin, and I have the honor of representing the 28th Assembly District. That district is the harbor in Santa Cruz, north to the county line. I go through Scotts Valley, San Lorenzo Valley, over the summit, into Los Gatos, Montessorino, Willow Glen, Cambrian, down the Almaden Valley, Coyote Valley, Morgan Hill, turn around. I have a little sliver of Gilroy. I turn around. I take in that wonderful wine country, and then I go through the forest of Nicene Marks back down to the harbor. So it looks like a fist. And that's what I'm doing for all of you here in Sacramento, is fighting for our values and our rights. Do we have anybody here from the 28th Assembly District? Good to see you. Yes, wonderful. Shout out. So a little bit about me. As he said, I was the chief elections official in Santa Cruz County for more than 27 years. And in that time, I implemented significant voter reforms like extending voting hours and initiating voter outreach to underrepresented communities. I worked on a lot on accessibility, expanding language access, and making voting more accessible for persons with disabilities, students, seniors in nursing homes, and people incarcerated in county jails. One of my favorite programs was I implemented a vote-mobile. So think taco truck, but instead of tacos, I had ballots. And I was able to drive all over the county and issue ballots to people and provide voter assistance at homeless shelters or senior convalescent homes or farmers markets. And I always worked with all political parties to ensure fair, accurate, and secure and transparent elections. And, I was also, as county clerk, I was also a strong advocate for same-sex marriage. And as county clerk, I was the commissioner of civil marriage, and it was just heartbreaking to me when we passed Proposition 8, and then, but then once it was finally legalized again, there was lots of joy, and these rights are being threatened today. Our rights to love who we want to love, our rights to vote, and we need to work together and fight for the things we believe in. And I became involved in leadership organizations in Santa Cruz County, and we had never elected a woman from Santa Cruz County to any office higher than countywide. So I work with different groups like Close the Gap and Breaking the Glass Ballot. We have a new group called Women in Leadership for Diverse Representation. And I tried to recruit a woman to run for this seat. It kept coming back to me. So here I am, serving my second term now in the 28th Assembly District. And my lived experiences guide the work I do as an Assembly member. My family has been profoundly impacted by mental health. which has made me dedicated to working in this space in Sacramento, to be a voice and a face to remove the stigma around mental health and ensure that in this mental health crisis, we need to get more workforce, we need to get more programs, we need more accessibility and more affordability. And the speaker has recently appointed me chair of the Select Committee on California's Mental Health Crisis. And I am hearing children as young as 2, 3, and 4-year-olds are presenting with mental health conditions. Our schools are significantly impacted by the mental health crisis, with kids in our schools and some feeling there's a stigma and they can't ask for the help they need. And these amazing wellness centers that we're seeing on schools are so critically important to the health of our children that we need to be able to fight to continue to staff those and provide that essential service in our schools. The reality is the biggest threat to behavioral health programs are congressional Republicans. They are currently pursuing budget cuts that would severely threaten our ability to provide behavioral health services. Medicaid is the largest payer of behavioral health services, and it makes up a significant portion of the county's mental health budgets. The billions of dollars we may lose from the federal government will disrupt an already fragile behavioral health system. So we cannot rely on the federal waivers to use Medicaid funding for purposes such as housing navigation, and the federal government could choose to let the waivers expire or rescind them. Any funding cuts at the federal level would devastate the ability of hospitals, community centers, and schools and other behavioral health providers in supporting our constituents who urgently need help. On a positive note, in our state budget, we have happy to see the continued support of our state's 988 Crisis Lifeline Center. It's an easy-to-remember phone number you could call or text if you or a loved one is in a mental health crisis. And according to the Department of Healthcare Services, 1 out of 8 calls to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline originated in California. So equally important to the issue of mental health is breaking down the barrier to accessing high-quality care. This year, I partnered with Janus, a substance abuse disorder clinic in my district, to streamline licensing and certification processes for SUD treatment providers. The other horrifying thing that's happening under this President Trump's administration is he has made concerted efforts to heighten immigration enforcement actions across the country, including locations previously considered safe, such as courthouses and our schools. In response, our undocumented communities have experienced an understandable sense of fear, a potential separation from their families, including their minor children. They're scared to go to work. They're scared to send their kids to schools. So in an attempt to ensure parents have the tools they need at their disposal to create a necessary contingency plan in the event that the worst case scenario occurs and they are forced to leave their children behind, I am working with Santa Clara County to create the Standby Caretaker Authorization Program, which will allow a custodial parent to choose another adult to take care of their child in an event they are deported or have another incident that renders them unable to care for their children, such as they're deployed in the military or they have a disease that needs treatment. And all of this would be done while preserving their parental rights. So I'm very proud to carry that bill on behalf of Santa Clara County. And man, I am disappointed that as currently presented to us, that May revise is balancing the budget on the backs of women, children, and our undocumented community. Our budget subcommittees are painstakingly reviewing every single decision proposed by the governor. And as a member of the Women's Caucus, we have already put our line in the sand and made it clear that our budget cannot be balanced on the backs of women and children. And at the same time, when the federal government is disproportionately targeting programs that we depend on the most. Childcare. Access to high quality and affordable childcare can help lift a family out of poverty and catapult a child onto a lifetime of success. We must fight these cuts. I remember my kids are 27 and 30 now, and I remember struggling with childcare when they were babies and infants and preschool. And I cannot believe we are still fighting for these essential services to our families. Earlier today, I joined the Women's Caucus, and I got to say, out of the 120 members of our state legislature, 58 of us are women. So we're almost at parity. But here's the reality. Women gave birth to all of them. And we were talking about the severe cuts to our reproductive health programs. If we defund access to a woman's ability to get a regular cervical exam for cancer so that it's detected early, how does that benefit her? How does that benefit our budget? How does that benefit anyone at all? It doesn't. So we will fight. But there is some positive initial investment in the budget. Universal school meals, are fully funded to ensure every child gets 2 meals a day, because a full belly means children are focused on the lesson and not on their headaches and the aches from their hunger. There's additional funding for the summer electronic benefits transfer to ensure low-income families, give them the financial assistance so they can have meals during the summer when schools are closed. And we have historic investments in per pupil spending. So as we continue to shape our budget, your voices are really important. Your time, your preparation, your passion, it matters to us. Don't underestimate your influence. Don't minimize your impact. The halls of the Capitol need your voice now more than ever. We cannot give up. If you can't physically come to Sacramento, come to our district office or any member's district office, ask to set up a meeting with them. We need to hear from you. I encourage you to keep pushing, keep organizing, keep showing up. Your advocacy changes lives. So let's continue to work together, continue to fight together for the women, the children, the families who are all counting on us. And with that, I'm happy to take some questions. Okay, right here. She's one of my Women of the Year this year. Absolutely. She was asking me on behalf of her son for the Medicaid services to help support our people with disabilities in our community, in our schools, and absolutely, we cannot balance the budget on our most vulnerable. So I will be fighting for that. Absolutely. Thank you. A question over here. She's asking about my position on DEI as it affects Black and brown people. We absolutely need diversity, equity, and inclusion built into everything we do. 100%. Yes. Yes. From you as far as your position on bills is critically important for us when we go to vote. We all have a member portfolio, and when I go to vote on an issue, and there's thousands of bills that we hear, I will have in that member portfolio anything that comes from the constituents telling me what their position is on bills. So please make sure you let your voices be heard by going on to the website, the websites for the assembly members or the committees and register your positions. Any other questions? One more here.
there was less than a day and a half to mobilize, and even then, 140 people came from all over the state to oppose it vehemently. An extremely diverse group of people, including anti-Zionist Jews, Muslims, Palestinians, Christians, everybody came out to oppose it. This bill, this bill wants to cement a very specific definition of anti-Semitism that would make it impossible to talk about things that are going on right now that is honestly draining our budget, not just our national budget, but our California alone puts billions of dollars in weapons going to fight wars overseas that should be going to our education. This particular bill, AB 715, is wanting to, the CTA and the SBA came out, they didn't even have time to put anything together, but they said they were leaning towards opposing to it because it opens up teachers and school boards to expensive legislation should they say anything that anybody did, that anybody feels uncomfortable with in the classroom. And so it has the possibility of being an extremely expensive bill. There were no voices other than a single voice were there, had any input in this bill. And I'm actually very shocked that it's not in here, because right now it was put through the education committee. Everybody voted despite massive opposition against it. And I keep hearing everyone talking about how our budget is so tight, but they're wanting to have a single person overlooking only anti-Semitism when we have so many other issues of racism and bullying. We have Islamophobia, rising levels. And so why am I not seeing this bill, and why am I not hearing it?
I'm not sure what you're looking at. I didn't put anything together, but she's asking about AB 715, and it is a bill that is designed and worked on by all of our diversity caucuses, our Jewish caucus. Okay, she has a different opinion than mine, and basically what the bottom line is, we want to make sure our schools are safe for all children to thrive, to learn, to be heard. And but this is the beauty of this process. We need to hear from you, so please make sure you contact your assembly members, your senators. That's great. That's the kind of advocacy we need, but there's a lot of sides to many of these issues. So as it goes through the process, it may have other amendments along the way. So definitely we would like to hear from you exactly how you feel and some suggestions on how to make legislation better so it could help everyone. So.
Do you have anything to say on the very secretive gut and amend process that it was put in? Because when you say that it has a process to go through, there was a day and a half to mobilize on this bill.
Yeah, so it's not over yet is the bottom line. So the bill was amended. It had a very extensive, long hearing where people were heard from. People also submitted their positions through the portal, and that will continue to be deliberated and talked about and hearing from stakeholders as it goes through the process.
Can we get a promise from you that there will be Muslim voices, Palestinian voices, and anti-
We need to hear from everybody. Absolutely, 100%. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful day in Sacramento.
One more round of applause for Assemblymember Pellerin. Our next speaker is going to be State Senator Jesse Aregin. He is not here yet, but he will be here soon. So in the meantime, please remain in this general area, but as many of you have discovered, there's coffee, water, and some fruits in the back. Feel free to grab them and return to your seats when the senator's here.
can't hear anything. And
but I know that we do have an upcoming cafe and everything that I love to do for tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's from this way. There's clothing and inside there's a couple dresses. I want to double check that.
There's actually, if you, I can refer to you guys.
yeah,
Yeah, of course.
what I see in they are actually gonna have them
everyone, if we could please have you seated. Our next couple speakers are here, and we want to give them our utmost attention. So grab your coffee, sit down. Everyone back in your seats, please. All right, everyone back in your seats. All right, once we have everyone seated, we can keep going with the program. And just a brief reminder, we will have time. We're going to have another scheduled break around 11:15 for everyone to use the restroom and all that. But while speakers are up, we do insist that you guys stay seated and remain within the area. That being said, our next speaker is, let me find the bio, is Senator Jesse Aregin. Am I saying that right? Okay. Senator Aregin was elected to represent the 7th Senate District in November of 2024. He has spent his entire life fighting for social and economic justice, and he's been delivering results. He was previously elected mayor of Berkeley in 2016 and reelected in 2020. He was the first Latino and youngest person elected to the office in a century. He is the son and grandson of farm workers. He was born in Fresno and raised in San Francisco. He grew up in a working class household, and since he began his public service, he has been addressing homelessness, affordable housing, improving infrastructure, and educational outcomes, and they've been his top priority. So please, everyone, sit down and give a warm welcome to Senator Aregin.
Well, good morning. Thank you for coming here to Sacramento. It's good to see the Bay Area represented. And I want to thank all the students and parents who are here, because it's not only important that we hear your voice as we're shaping the state budget, and particularly our education funding and education programs, because this directly impacts you. But I think it's also really important for our students to get a firsthand experience about how our state government works. I'm new to state government. I just got elected in November, but I have served in local government for 20 years. I was the mayor of Berkeley for 8 years, and I was the first Latino and youngest person ever elected to the Berkeley City Council for 16 years. A little bit about my background, I got involved in political activism as a young activist. I am the son and grandson of farm workers who worked in the fields of the Central Valley, and hearing about their struggles, working in the fields, living in labor camps, it made me angry that the people that feed us are some of the most exploited and underrepresented people in our society. And that still is the case to this day, even despite many decades of advocacy for farm workers' rights. So I got involved at the age of 9 years old in working to name a street in my hometown of San Francisco after my hero, still my hero, Cesar Chavez. And now, fast forward 30 years later, I'm honored to represent Oakland, Berkeley, Richmond, and the Northern East Bay in the California State Senate. Like some of you, I'm the first in my family to attend and graduate from college at UC Berkeley. And that's why when I was in the city of Berkeley and now here in the Capitol, I've been a very strong advocate for expanding access to public education, not just our K through 12 schools, but also higher education. And as the representative of Berkeley, I'm honored to have the flagship campus of the University of California in my city, UC Berkeley. And I certainly know, as somebody who attended UC Berkeley even 25 years ago, that the cost of public education in California is pricing so many of our students and so many of our residents out of getting a world-class education. And that's because the state has for years historically underinvested in our public education system in California. And so now we're at a point where we are working to try to reverse some pretty devastating cuts that the Newsom administration had proposed to not just our University of California system, but also our other public education, higher education universities, our California State University system, and our community college system. And so I know myself and my colleague, Senator Cortese, we're very committed to making sure that we restore funding to fully fund our not only our K through 12 institutions in California, but our higher education institutions in California, so that every kid and every Californian can have the opportunity to get a world-class education. And that's critical to our state's economy and critical to our state's future. Another thing that we're dealing with right now is the impact of major cuts by the Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration on our safety net. Cuts to Medicaid, which will impact the number of people that we can serve in California under our Medi-Cal system, and cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, of which that provides most of the funding for our CalFresh Nutrition Assistance Program in California. I'm honored to chair the Senate Select Committee on Human Services, and in that committee we're focused on not just nutrition assistance, supporting our foster youth, supporting our seniors, people with developmental issues and developmental disabilities. And we know that all these programs, whether it's our IHSS program, whether it's our nutrition assistance programs, they are challenged not just by cuts in Washington, but cuts here in California. So it's absolutely essential that at this time that we protect our safety net, which is so critical to supporting low-income families and low-income kids as well. And so many students at UC Berkeley rely on CalFresh as their only way of being able to access food. We know that with the rising cost of housing, rising cost of living in our state, that these programs are essential to not just help feed Californians, but to help support so many California families. So I know myself and my colleague, Senator Cortese, we're very committed to making sure that we not just fight to protect our education funding, but that we protect our safety net now more than ever. And, you know, thinking about my own family's lived experience growing up in poverty and people that relied on these programs, I know how essential CalFresh is for families to be able to just put food on the table. And when housing costs so much, you have to decide between whether you're going to be able to feed your family or be able to afford your rent. And so many people in our state are one paycheck away from being on the street. And I know from personal experience, having my family face eviction and housing insecurity and homelessness, that so many families are rent burdened and housing insecure in California because we don't have enough affordable housing. So the more that we can build more affordable housing, you know, invest in our social service safety net, invest in our education system and creating pathways for kids to enter our workforce in California. That's how we're going to help families succeed. That's how we're going to help families thrive here in California. So I'm glad you're here. We need to hear your voice. It's really important to make sure that these things, these values that we all share, that public education is a right, that food is a right, that housing is a right, things that we all believe in, that we need to hear from you why it's so important that we invest in these things now more than ever in our state. So I'll stop there. And thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for being here, and thank you for speaking out for people not just in Silicon Valley, but throughout the state of California.
Sure. So we have time for a couple of questions if anyone has any questions. We have one over here.
I'm from Gilroy, but I'm an East Coast transplant. Been here 6 years. The food in schools, I'm embarrassed as a restaurant industry professional.
Yeah.
I worked with Mark Vetri in revamping Philadelphia's school system with local school gardens, education for kids, and curriculum. How do we get something like that tracked here? Not because I've seen it done in certain cities here. How do we get that done at the state level? Because healthier kids are better students. So, and we'll all the things.
Great question. She had said that the school meals are embarrassing, not just in terms of their level of nutrition, but just the quality of food that we're providing our kids, which I completely agree. I know Ms. Middleton could probably touch on this because our superintendent of public instruction, Tony Thurman, has been leading an initiative to try to transform the types of school meals that we're providing, and really focusing on sourcing healthier food, local produce, working with farmers, working with people to develop healthier meals, more nutritious meals for kids. And so I'm glad to say that that's in the works right now. And maybe she can elaborate on that. And I think it's something I know he's been working on for a number of years now. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming to Sacramento. Don't be a stranger. We need your voice. And thank you for having me.
One more round of applause for Senator Araguin, please. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Natasha Middleton. She is the Interim Director of Government Affairs and Division and Federal Policy Liaison representing the California Department of Education and the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. With over a decade of experience, she provides critical updates on project status, research compliance issues, and manages federal compliance projects, ensuring alignment with regulations and organizational goals. Throughout her career, she has led efforts to improve productivity and profitability by designing efficient processes and managing all aspects of project coordination. Natasha Middleton.
Good morning. It's great to be here. I wanted to make one clarification. I am still the current federal policy liaison for the California Department of Education. However, we have a new director, Kimberly Rosenberger. I ended my interim role a week and a half ago, while also working as federal policy liaison. Before I get started, I wanted to address the question, if you could give me your information. We have a wonderful director, Kim Frenzel, in our nutrition division, because it's important to hear your voices on such a critical matter. So I appreciate you bringing that up. As I said, I'm Natasha Middleton. I'm here on behalf of State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. I'm going to put my glasses on. I wanted to let you know that the superintendent supports the governor's proposed budget revision, which would fund critical programs that will improve student achievement, such as expanded learning opportunities, literacy, educator coaching and training, screeners for reading difficulties, and a strong start for our earliest learners in universal transition kindergarten. Superintendent Tony Thurmond has led the implementation of historic investments in early childhood education, literacy intervention, literacy coaches, and expanded learning programs. In addition, there are continued efforts to maximize existing investments, especially in literacy, through the superintendent's cohort to move the needle on test scores, where a group of over 250 local educational agencies collaborate to maximize 4 key sources of education, which education dollars, which include literacy coaches and reading specialists, the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, and the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant to accelerate students' core academic skills. As far as state legislation goes, the superintendent is also proud to sponsor Senate Bill 48, which restricts local educational agencies and local law enforcement agencies from assisting federal immigration enforcement officers on school grounds, providing additional protections for students and families to attend school without fear. This critical measure will protect our most vulnerable communities from inhumane federal policies. As for the federal side, we are aware that there are threats to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, including draft bills to terminate the department and executive orders from the White House referring to the same. Want to stress the fact that an executive order is not law, and that Congress alone holds the authority to close a department that Congress created. Any change to the federal government's obligations to protect students' access to public education must come from congressional action. State Superintendent Tony Thurmond and the California Department of Education remain committed to staying focused on our most important goal, improving educational results for our students. We want to encourage all leaders of the California local educational agencies and communities to continue a steadfast focus on what is working in your school communities. We at the California Department of Education and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond are focused on moving the needle for student achievement, no matter what. Thank you for your time. Yes.
I'm glad to hear all these grants and research, but is there any policy or any research being done for what we are teaching in the schools and colleges and high schools? Because it's going to change. In another 5 years, my son graduated this weekend. I graduated in October of my third master. But market is different. The industry is changing. We have to have proper education now so that the output, when they come out of colleges, they get a job. I mean, so the education system itself has to be looked into and revived.
You're talking about K through 12 education.
You have to take high school and the college.
So I can cover K through 12. The superintendent also serves as a trustee on the California State universities and the UC board. And I understand what you're talking about, but the superintendent's also focused on career and technical education because there's not necessarily one path. And so understanding that students have different interests, different priorities, and you still want to get them and have them engaged. So definitely understand your concern, and it's something that is on the superintendent's radar. So I appreciate you bringing the question up. Yes. Yes.
You mentioned that the superintendent supports the governor's proposed budget.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the budget is cutting greatly on medical that supports students with disabilities, IPs, by paying services like speech. So I don't understand.
Yeah.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about a lot of goals and a lot of focus, and I didn't hear anything about students with disabilities, students with IPs. And it is important to know that even though California is such a rich state, it's the state with the fourth lowest inclusion in the whole country. Thank you.
I appreciate the question, and despite the fact that I didn't mention it, it doesn't mean that it's not important. But I absolutely only have 10 minutes, but I appreciate you bringing it up, and you are absolutely correct, and it is a priority for the superintendent regarding students with disabilities. We have a great division director, Rachel Heenan, who's keenly focused on all programs and funds that are related to it. And on the federal side, we're focused on making sure that IDEA funding is also intact. So it is on our radar. So my apologies if I did not include it. It's not because it was an oversight at all. So thank you. Yes.
Just to bounce off what she's saying, so in middle schools and high schools, the children moderate to severe, they have trouble reading, writing, and some of them get to high school, they don't know their alphabets and numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we improve like that literacy for kids with moderate to severe disabilities?
Well, I think that's part of having literacy coaches. So paying attention to where the needs are. So thank you for bringing that up. Anything else? Right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time. It's a great event by Senator Cortese. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So we are waiting on our next speaker, Senator Sasha Perez. She's the chair of the Education Committee. She'll be here shortly. An announcement that I wanted to make for everyone is this white bus right here and the bus behind it. There are bathrooms on the bus if you need to make like a quick trip there. And those are available to everyone. So I just wanted to announce that. So we will get started again shortly. Yeah, thank you so much for your patience.